I shocked a lot of people when I retired. I was at the top of my game. I was at the top of my salary. I would have been far better off financially working another 3, 4 years. But it's like it got to a point where I wanted my time more than I wanted money. And that's a shift that I think everybody goes through. I went through it. And it's like, if I had one more dollar, is my life going to be any different?
Welcome to the Fund Your Retirement podcast.
Hello, Joe. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, great, Lee. Glad to be on here.
Yeah, fantastic. The first thing, I'd like the audience to get to know the guest, and maybe you can share a little bit about your journey, who Joe is, and how you've got to be where you are, which is a very nice position of financially independent. And you actually retired at 54, didn't you? Which is a good age.
Yeah, and that's a piece of the story. If you ask me, who am I? First thing I like to say is a dad. I've got 4 adult children, super proud of them. They're all engineers, by the way.
Nice.
32 down to 24, 3 boys and a daughter. Super proud of them. Married for 34 years to my wife that we met in high school. So we've been together forever. I don't remember before my wife. So a dad and a husband first. And then I got a degree as an engineer, mechanical engineer, and then went into manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, think steel mills. It was actually aluminum mills, aluminum processing, aluminum foundry kind of works, but just really heavy capital intense. And I was a mediocre engineer. I got into leadership very early, like at the age of 25. I started managing departments, managing maintenance departments, managing production departments. And I progressed up to being a plant manager, and I was plant manager of a 2,000 person plant. So I had a great career. Anything about my career, I loved leadership and developing people. It wasn't an ego thing about I like the positional authority. It's the ability to influence so many things and to make things better tomorrow than they are today and to help people along that journey. That's me. Okay. I retired at the age of 54. I could have retired at 52. Everything made sense that I could. But a couple buddies of mine, they cornered me. They needed me to help out this one plant that was struggling. And I told them no about 5 times. And they gained up on me. One held me and one threatened me. And I worked 2 years doing that and thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay. But I could have retired a couple of years earlier. And I often get asked, would you have retired at 42 if you could have instead of 54? I tell people no. I thoroughly enjoyed the leadership challenges. Just as an example, when I was working 50 hours a week, I was reading 10 hours a week, leadership, biographies of other individuals, taking some classes. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if I would have retired at 42, I would have been plant manager at 3 different plants. And those were positions I thought were extremely impactful. I made a change at these plants. The team made changes. I wouldn't trade that. So I was at a point where, hey, I had a great career. I've discovered I love developing people and working with people and having team success. I love that. And if I would have retired at 42, I wouldn't have fell in love there.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where, hey, I've been a plant manager 3 times. I've got enough. I've got a new journey I want to start. And I shocked a lot of people when I retired. I was at the top of my game. I was at the top of my salary. I would have been far better off financially working another 3, 4 years. But it's like, it got to a point where I wanted my time more than I wanted money. And that's a shift that I think everybody goes through. I went through it. And it's, if I had one more dollar, is my life going to be any different? Am I going to spend more? I've been value driven, not cheap, but value driven my whole life. If I had $10 more million, am I going to go out and buy a nice car? No, I like my nice old 10-year-old car. And so I wanted to start a new journey. And some of that, it was, I did not have the YouTube vision. I did not. I wanted to do some part-time consulting in leadership, and specifically leadership in reliability and maintenance, which is a massive cavern of leadership. There's a huge opportunity in reliability and maintenance, and I've had some successes in that area. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to spend time there. Plus I wanted to travel. Plus I wanted to work on my health and things like that. So that's a long answer to the journey. I'm not a financial expert. I'm a person that managed my money pretty well. saved, lived below my means, all those kind of things, was not an impulse buyer. Saved, planned on retiring at 52, retired at 54. It's been 3.5 years, and I understand that journey, and I'm hopefully able to help people out on, hey, man, this was a surprise for me. This was a surprise for me. I wasn't planning on this, or this I did well, but it was on accident.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help people like that are really stymied by fear and think maybe early retirement, there's no way I can do that. And I help guide people as a life coach, and mainly through YouTube. And one of the things that gets hard about YouTube, and I'm sure you have the same problem with a pod, is the comments. I want to respond to every comment. My last video, I got 700 comments. That's a lot of time to respond to 700 people.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna have to hire a PA or something to help you out with it.
Oh,
The project's going down on legs.
Yeah, it's yeah, just give me likes. So I love the comments. Actually, vast majority of my content
Comes from the comments. Yeah.
comments. People, I'll hear 4 or 5 people. One person says it, I may not listen to it, but I hear 4 or 5 people and I'm going, gosh, that was a big deal. I'll tell how I handle it. And that's, you ask who I am. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm an engineer, I'm a plant manager that happened to be on this financial journey. And the financial journey seems to be interesting to most folks. YouTube channel, Lee, that I started, if you listen to the first 100 videos, it's all about leadership and plant management.
Oh, I've noticed.
Some people love that. Some people say I should have started a separate channel, and I've decided to simplify my life. And if you don't have, I've tried to be extremely clear in the title of, hey, this is retirement, this is reliability and maintenance. And there's some people that love both. It all started with,
It's working. Keep doing it.
yeah,
it's working.
whatever.
It's working, isn't it?
I'm enjoying.
That's the main thing. Yeah. 700 comments from one video. You're obviously delivering value, which is the main thing, isn't it? That's what you do it for. So that's great.
Yeah.
One of the things I was wondering, how did you build a portfolio, or what were the strategies that you employed that allowed you to get to the point where you could retire at 52? Because for many, that's a very good age to become financially independent by the time you were 52. So what were the types of things that you did in that 30, 40-year career to achieve that?
Yeah. I wish I could say that it was extremely exciting and I did something different.
Yeah.
What I believe, sitting here on the other side of the mountain that people were climbing, it's all about execution. You don't need a perfect plan. You need to be able to execute. Okay. I did the boring things. I started working at age 22. I had no money. I had no assets. I had no furniture. I had an apartment with a borrowed bed and a piece of lawn furniture in my living room. That's what I started with. But I started saving 6%. It was 6% in my 401k, which is a program where your company automatically takes out money.
Yep.
It was pre-tax 6%, and the company matched 6%. So I was saving 12% day one. Gosh, I was making, at the time, I was making $27,000 a year, and I just couldn't believe how wealthy I was. $27,000 a year. This was in 1987. And then with every raise that I got, you get an annual raise, and then I had a few promotions inside of there. I would always come home and say, hey, wife and kids, I got a promotion. Let's go out to eat. And always a big surprise. And that was our celebration. We'd spend $60. And then I would take that money and I would increase my 6%, 8%, increase it 9%. So just every raise.
How interesting. Yeah.
I didn't go out and buy a new car and say, or a new boat or something like that. Every raise, everything, I just upped my percentage.
And you were paying into your 401k.
Yeah. So if I got as an example, if I got a $200 a month raise, I would spend $60 taking the family out to eat. And then I would maybe reinvest 125 of that, 150 of that, not the whole thing. I would capture the $50, somewhere around 3/4 of it, I would just bank. So I eventually got that up to where I was saving 18%, and then the company was matching 6%. For a couple decades, saving 24%, I think that adds up to.
Yeah.
Then I actually had a job where you got bonuses. I got some stock at times if the company did well and I did well. And I didn't spend that. I didn't fall for the trap of lifestyle creep. One of the things I probably should have said earlier about me, I grew up middle class. And I say middle class. I had a great storybook childhood. We lived in an 800 square foot house, which in the United States is pretty small by today's standards. We had a basement. I had 3 other siblings, so we were a family of 6. And I was raised to be value driven, not cheap. We give away money, but I'm not an impulse buyer. I don't see a new mountain bike and go, oh, guys, got to have that new mountain bike. Oh, got a new Peloton.
Yeah, new car.
Oh, in cars. Yeah, cars are a big deal. I'll just come out and say this. People think I'm weird. People think I'm okay. I'm looking out my subdivision here, and I drive a 2005 Toyota Camry with 150,000 miles on it. Okay. Yeah. I could go out and buy a new Tesla with cash. Okay. I could do that.
Yeah.
Now, probably after the 1-year waiting period. And my neighbors all look at me and like, they're driving big $90,000 pickup trucks and they get a new car every 2 years. And my car is 17 years old. And they look at me like, Joe, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the discussion, I say, I'm not trying to be snarky or anything like that. I say, you're the one working.
Yeah. You're still paying for that truck on your drive.
My advice to my 18-year-old self, one of the first things I'll say is cars are for transportation, not for a status symbol. You buy a $3,000 car and 120,000 miles on it, you'll have to convert that to kilometers.
yeah, it's all right.
And drive that to 200,000. You'll save, if you can save $400, $500, $600 a month just in automobiles.
Yeah.
For 35 years.
Yeah.
You'll have over $1 million. If you take that same $500 and put it in a growth mutual fund and just let it go, don't forget about it, you'll have over $1 million. Just call. It's just that one thing. Pay yourself first, invest that money, forget about it. Don't let all those live below your means, all that stuff. Do it. No, it's not the game plan that's hard. It's doing it for 35 years. It's hard.
Yeah. What you said at the start is the execution of it, isn't it?
It's all about execution. So how many people do you know that say that you see them, they got a brand new car, and you say, oh, brand new car. And you go, I just got a big bonus, cashed in my bonus. That's you take that same, say that bonus was $30,000 just to make up a number. Okay, take that $30,000, invest it in a car, and you got the same transportation you had before. Or you take that $30,000 and let it sit in a growth mutual fund for 25 years.
Yeah.
To it. It's life-changing if you can take that long view. So I had a boring plan, and I think where I stand out, if just to be honest, is in 35 years of execution.
Yeah. And the guests we've had on recently, Joe, they have that very similar sort of theme as yourself. I don't want to use the word frugal because it's not frugal. It's just, I like what you described, actually, value driven. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been given the gift, and I've inherited this, I think, from my dad, is I'm not an impulse buyer. And one of the things you got to realize when you're young is there's a lot of people, and a lot of people with PhDs in psychology that work in marketing, that they try to get you to be an impulse buyer. Keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You have this new car. You got to do this. There are people, and what my dad taught me is not in a real negative way, but there are people out there trying to extract money from you that know how your mind works. And he didn't never use those words, but I tried to instill that in my kids and say, everybody's trying to extract money from you. And a lot of people do that through fear or through
reward.
Yeah, boy, you got to buy this kind of insurance.
You do this and you'll get this reward.
Oh, yeah. Or you got to have this, you got to buy this new watch. Imagine how people are going to look at you when you got this new watch, or you got this new bike, or you got the newest car. So impulse buying has never been something that excited me at all. But I realize it's a problem for most people. It's a
majority.
Yeah, for majority of people. Also, I said that I'm weird. I really mean financially, when people look at what I do, they think, gosh, that's really crazy. Because I live in a nice house, but I drive a really old car. And that makes no sense to people. Another thing I think I'm extremely odd with is, I'll preface this with, my wife and I, we do give a lot to nonprofits. I'm president of a nonprofit. We give away money. We help people. We give away a lot, much more than most people.
Yeah.
But I find more joy out of saving a dollar than spending a dollar, in particular on myself. Okay. So I get great joy out of looking at comparing auto insurance companies and saying, hey, this is $50.
Yeah, I see.
The vacations, I could stay in a 4-star hotel very easily. I could stay in go
Yeah.
on vacation, stay in a $300 a night hotel or Airbnb, but hey, this one's 175. And it's
So you've actually trained yourself to really enjoy those rewards.
I don't know that I've trained myself or if I was born this way. Just other examples. It's happened to me just the other day, and I made a video on this. Is I was going to a retirement group that these are just old people that I've worked with, and I'm one of the youngest there. I work with. When I was pulling out of the driveway, my neighbor was having the pest control company spray around their house. Okay, they were spraying for insects and spiders and things like that around their house. And I'm looking at them and I go, that's odd. I said, I'm 58 years old now, and I've never, at my parents' house, have we ever paid somebody to spray around our house? I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I went to my retirement group, and there were 10 of them there, and counting me, 10. And I said, guys, and it's a think tank. When we pose questions like this, I say, guys, raise your hand if you pay Terminix or Orkin or Ben the Bug Man to come out and spray for insects. 9 of the 10 people raised their hand. I was the only one not to. And then the cheapest one was paying $32.50 a month for 40 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And they said, well, what do you do? And I said, I go to Home Depot, and for $14, I get this insect spray, and I get they go, Joe, you don't understand. They have these little sticky pads to catch insects. I said, I know those things are like 37 cents a piece.
Yeah.
And it's just, I look for things to do myself. How much of training do you need to do that?
No, it's a mindset. That's a mindset thing, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it is a mindset. Plumbing. Somebody asked me, hey, what'd you do yesterday? I said, my sink was clogged up. And I made a video on this one too. But my sink was clogged up, and it took me about 90 minutes to get it unclogged. I go, why don't you pay somebody to do that?
Yeah.
You call a plumber out to your house in my area, you're spending $300. If they're there for 30 minutes, it's $300. Yeah. I bought a little thing that fits on the end of my garden hose for $11 and fixed it.
Yeah, just like that.
It blew out. So I'm sitting there, and I get tremendous joy out of saving a dollar. More than if I would go out and buy a nice meal for myself or buy that new mountain bike. I'm telling you, it's more joy. And I think I'm weird.
No, it's not weird. It's almost the opposite of what culture tells us the way that we should be, in that we should enjoy the kind of the rewards of look at me with this, or look at me with this watch, or look at me in this new car. But the way you're describing it is you've got joy from actually look at how much I've saved by doing this.
Yeah.
And it's a different way of looking at things. And it's really insightful for anyone who's on the journey. Really insightful.
I use the term weird to be dramatic and to get people to think. You have to be okay being odd, but probably a more academic way of describing it is like I'm on the normal distribution bell curve. I'm in one of the tails. And when you start to think about what's the right thing to do, you can do whatever you want with your money.
Yeah.
I like saving. I like finding a dollar much more than spending a dollar. And the vast majority of people aren't that way. There's something chemical that happens when you do that. And to me, I can't take credit for how I think about money. I think it has a lot to do with my upbringing. But I think if you've asked me the main reason I was able to retire early, it was all around execution.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a brilliant plan. It was a average plan that everybody knows.
Yeah. So when you were saving 24% of your income at the peak where you had your maximum sort of saving rate, that money was going into a 401k. Were you aware where that was going, or did you have any handle on what type of investments that was going into? Or were you just, I'm saving 24% and my financial planner on my 401k plan is taking care of that? And then fast forward to when you're getting ready to retire and you have retired.
Okay.
Did you then take over the responsibility of your funds, or?
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated on the back end, but I'll hit that. Originally, with my 401k, when I started with my first 6%, I just went with the total market index.
Yeah.
We had
Here's
something
here's
called
the money type thing.
mutual funds. I just
Yeah.
kind of, hey, let's put this in the large cap stocks. I had some small caps, nothing really
Yeah.
exciting and dramatic. It's just put in the stock market. You could pay for a service with our 401k and pay somebody like assets under management. It was pretty low cost. It was probably like 0.3%.
Yeah.
Versus standard now is 1%. But it was pretty low. I never used that. I just was dumping it in. I'll tell you, I didn't get that excited about it. Essentially, the S&P 500, let it go.
Yeah.
And maybe 10% international, let it go. Had no bonds and just manage that. I'll tell you honestly, there were years that I didn't even look at where my money was invested. I just put it in there. I had a day job. I was pretty busy, pretty big jobs, and I just kept putting it in there. And then it came time. Then you start getting 5, 6, 7 years away from retirement. You start saying, should I reposition here?
This is the interesting part. So when did you start to take an interest in where it was and what it was doing?
Yeah. And my standard answer to this is I've got a video on this. You don't need to write anything down. I got a video on everything.
Yeah.
It was probably about 5 years ahead of time. I understood the plan that I wanted to have in retirement. And my plan is I have buckets of money that I manage. And those, what a lot of people have, they like to go with say a 60-40 portfolio of stocks and bonds. Okay. And that's fine. But if a bear market hits and the stock market goes down 30%, what's that mean to you? I got 60-40. That doesn't give me any comfort. I don't understand that. What buckets does for you is I have 0 to 4 years of expenses out of the market. So the market does whatever.
Is that in cash? Is that okay?
The majority is in cash. I've got some in CDs. I got some in bonds. I've got money markets, some things that are really low return,
cash liquid though, very liquid. You can get them straight away.
Liquid. And if the stock market goes down 20%, these may go down 1%. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably 0. It may even return 1 or 2. So that's bucket 1 is 0 to 4 years. So what happens when the bear market happens? The stock market goes down 30%. I can sit there and look in the mirror and say, I've got 4 years of expenses here. If this bear market lasts 4 years, I'll get concerned. So it gives you a great sense of control and lack of panic. The biggest risk, and I've got a video on this, the biggest risk to your retirement portfolio is not the market. It's you. The market, if the market goes down 40% and you panic and you say, guys, this could be the end of the world. So I'm going all to cash. And then the market recovers and then you say, I'll go back in the market. You just locked in your 50% losses, what you did. So I've always looked at myself and said, I'm the biggest problem. Okay. And that's the case for most people. You are the biggest problem to your assets. I got this bucket 1 that protects me against all that.
When did you implement bucket 1, Joe? So you could have gone at 52, you went at 54. What sort of age range were you when you thought, right, I'm going to implement this bucket system?
Yeah. I tell you, it was probably when I was about 49. It was 5 years before I actually retired. Was probably only 3 years before. If I would have retired at 52, actually some things would have been a little different. I would have had a little bigger pension at that time. I have an extremely small pension right now, but I actually had the choice of taking a lump sum or a pension, and I took a lump sum option. So things would have been different for me. The lump sum, not to confuse you, but the lump sum option was not available when I was 52, and it became available when I was 54.
Okay.
So I took a lump sum payout that added on to what I've already saved.
Yeah. So about 4 years prior to actually
about
going,
4 years I started
implemented bucket 1,
bucket 1, and then bucket 2. It's really 60-40 kind of mix, stocks, bonds. I got another 4 years of expenses in bucket 2. That is 60-40. And then and each bucket has a purpose. Bucket 1 managed me through a bear. And they happen every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. They randomly happen inside of there. It's going to happen. I'm prepared for it. Okay. I won't panic or shouldn't panic.
Yeah.
Bucket 2 is, that's your standard 60-40 mix. If you look at some of the funds I'm invested in, if you look over all 5-year periods, 5-year rolling periods, there was a couple 5-year rolling periods they've lost money, but it was like 0.2%. Almost, you can really say they never lost money. So what if you have the Great Depression? What if you have like the lost decade? And another one, 2000 to 2010, where the stock market really didn't change. Japan, their stock market has been flat for 30 years.
Oh, yeah. It peaked in the
So,
80s.
and there's some people say, gosh, Joe, that you mentioned Japan, that'll never happen here. Oh, yeah. It never happened here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I got a 60-40 mix, they're mitigated returns. It shouldn't be zero. And if a bear market, we get into a depression, it starts to last 7, 8, 9 years. Okay, I've got a little bit of that covered, and it grows, but it's not fully exposed to the stock market. And then I have a bucket 3, which is all stocks, a lot of growth, a lot of dividends inside of there, dividend paying stocks. I got a blend, some international, like maybe 10% international. I started shifting to these buckets about 5 years ago. And that's what I maintain now. Now, some people say that's complicated. It's not complicated. Yeah. It's not complicated at all. Each bucket has a purpose. And what I do is once a quarter, now in retirement, once a quarter, I'll look at our expenses and I'll look at the size of each bucket and say, does each bucket do what I want it to do? So right now we're bucket 1. I have 4 years in it. When I do the analysis, I'll probably, with inflation and the drop in the stock market, I may have 3.25 years in it. And then I'll say, okay, I'm a little light there, but we're in a bear market. I'm gonna wait another year or two. Okay. Bucket 2 is in good shape. Bucket 3 is in good shape. So hey, do nothing. Yeah. And every quarter so far, my response has been do nothing. So you just make sure that what each bucket's purpose is. And since I use years instead of portfolio mix, if I said I had a 60-40 mix and you went into a bear market, like I said earlier, what's that mean? Am I protected? What should I panic? But if I say I got this many years covered in bucket 1, this many years in bucket 2, gives a great sense of peace that, hey,
you can ride out the bear market for
you ride out a bear market.
Yeah, it does. It makes really good sense.
I prefer bull markets and things to make money, but I know I will start getting concerned in about 3 years of a market downturn. About 3 years, I'll be like, yeah, gosh, this is. Yeah. I wonder if I need to make a change. Instead of panicking, which a lot of people are panicking right now, and they said, oh my gosh, the whole world's going to collapse. We've never had anything like this before. I'm going to cash. I'm sitting out. That's
yeah. You've got 3.5, 4 years of bucket 1 to sustain you through whatever may unravel over this next year or two. So it's really interesting that. And when did you actually take? Because you said earlier on there that you were just paying the money into the 401k and you didn't really take much notice. You were busy with work and family at that age where you were. Yeah. So you obviously made a transition to taking an interest in this sort of thing because you created bucket 1. You obviously thought about bucket 2 and bucket 3. So what sort of age did you start to develop this interest in actually taking control of it yourself?
Really, I just keep coming back to the same thing. It was about 5 years out. I mean,
5 years.
Like I said, I didn't manage my investments very much at all for 27 years. Put money into it. And I think your previous guest, Paul, said, hey, it's more about your lifestyle and your savings and how much you're expending more than the interest rate you're getting. And I'm not trying to buy Bitcoin and Tesla stock and get 75% return. If I get long-term 10, that works for me. And I had other interests. I have much more interest in finances now, even now, than I did 15 years ago. I was just, hey, this is the right thing to do. I'll eventually want to retire, put money over here. So I really didn't spend hours a week. I'll tell you, honestly, there were probably years that I never looked at my 401k balance.
That's so interesting.
The only time I may have looked at it is if I got a promotion and they gave me $400 more a month and I was, okay, what should I change my percentages to? I want to lock in $300 of that and I'll buy my wife this and we'll go out to dinner, but the rest of it's going in. And then I would go another 18 months
without checking it. Well, Paul says is that the greatest sort of investment strategy anyone can do is actually their own saving rate. the higher the saving rate, that's going to be the best source of returns
Yeah.
they'll get.
Yeah, it's people overanalyze the return, and you don't have as much control over the return as you think you do. And if you try to get high returns, that comes with higher risk. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He's got 80% of his retirement in one stock, Apple, and it's done great for him. But I'm like, oh,
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
He's 63 and he's had a great ride. And I said, man, it's time to get off the roller
Yeah,
coaster.
he needs to diversify quickly.
Oh my gosh, I'm worried for you.
I think we've covered finances really well there. It's been really insightful to listen to how you basically built the portfolio and then what happened in the transition from going from worker to living off your investments. So what I'm thinking is, when you eventually retired, what happened to your relationships in retirement? Because you went from working,
Oh
I
yeah.
see you laughing there. You went from working 8, 9, 10-hour days. You had your own little environment with your work colleagues and that culture and that what that brings and your identity, your job title. And then you were living at home with your spouse
Yeah.
for 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
How did that develop? What was that like?
Leaving the corporate world really wasn't that hard. You do lose your identity because, when you meet somebody, like you say, hey, Joe, what do you do?
Yeah.
What's your answer to that? I used to have this prestigious position in the community and at work, and you give up on that. I've always considered myself, I'm a dad, I'm Joe. So that wasn't a big fall for me. Relationships, I laugh because relationship with my wife. We've been married 35 years. She was a school teacher, but she retired a long time ago to raise the kids. 4 kids on through, and we love that decision. That's a whole discussion. I got a video on this too.
Yeah.
Around how my wife and I partnered down on my career, and she managed the kids in the household, and we made more money with her stopping work and with trying to manage 2 careers and having your hair be on fire and be stressed all the day. Your question is my relationship with my wife. Yeah, it was awkward. I'm telling you, the first couple months, because think about life. When I was working, say 50 hours a week, Monday through Friday, and I'd work a couple hours on Saturday and maybe one on Sundays, just as an average.
Yeah.
But on the weekend was quality time with my wife and kids. Okay. And then the kids moved on. But it was like, I would wake up Saturday morning and then I'd say, okay, Lisa's my wife's name is, what do we got to do? We got to cut the grass. This is broke. The dishwasher doesn't work. You've got this event. It's a wedding or something like that. So we were always aligning our calendars, and 90% of the time we were together. And then Sunday we rested a little bit and we met with friends. So it was all together stuff. My wife's vision is, when I retired, is we're going to take Saturday and Sunday and just those 2 days and say, that's what 7 days are going to look like. Exactly the same. We're going to be together all the time. And that's just not realistic. You'll end up killing each other.
Yeah.
What she felt like she always needed to tell me something she was doing, and then my making YouTube videos and writing a book and doing some limited consulting. She said, what are you doing that for? This is supposed to be like our Saturday. So we had to work out some things. And the way I would like to describe it is journeys. My wife and I have 3 or 4 journeys we're on together. We like to travel. We like to entertain. We like to hang out with our friends. Those are journeys we're on together. But it's okay for me to have another journey where I do consulting. I manage a nonprofit. I make YouTube videos. She has lunch dates with some friends of hers. She does some volunteering at a nonprofit a couple times a week. So you need 3 or 4 journeys together. And it's okay to have 2 or 3 journeys apart. Okay. And there may be days, not days in a row, but there'll be like a Wednesday. I may only see my wife in the evening because she's doing something on her journey and I'm doing something on my journey. Yeah. So that was awkward to work through. And I'm telling you, I'm a little heated. So I thought I had this vision of retirement. She had this vision of retirement, and we were both a little wrong. Yeah. But that was the biggest relationship. Second to that is you have to, when you're working, your social calendar is automatically filled up with going to work, you're eating lunch with these people, you're meeting them after work, you may play golf with them. You got this, you got to go to this dinner. You got these things automatically structured. When you're retired, You got to be your own director. And you have to set up things like this other gentleman and I, both retired. We started a discussion group and we study like historical figures, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton,
Yeah.
those kind of things. And we study like the Mexican-American War. And we don't quiz each other over names, dates, and places. We talk about the lessons from there and how they can apply to today to make our lives and maybe our society a little bit better. Our current one is Dr. Carl Jung, who's a psychologist.
Very famous psychologist.
Yeah, so we're studying him. So that's a journey I'm on.
Oh, massive. Yeah.
And I've got about 12, we meet monthly. I got about 12 hours into that. But this happens to be all men in this group. And there's 5 of us. And we talk. And so that's a journey I'm on by myself. But I'm also, it's a social engagement that I have set up. So you have to set up, and I use my kids as an example all the time. You have to set up play dates. You have to set up, hey, do you want to go out to lunch? Or hey, do you want to go golfing? Or whatever that is, it's not automatically done for you. Pretty short transition for me. It's not as difficult as with my wife, but it is, if you don't set them up, a lot of people just sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Another thing, and you said social, but I'm going to twist that a little bit into some surprises. Okay. One of the things that I did, like on an average, say a Tuesday, I'd go to work, I'd work 10 hours, I'd drive home, and I'm tired. Well, we eat. And then if I have to cut the grass, I'll do that. But on several evenings, I'll just want to sit in front of the TV and I don't want to think. I don't want to solve any problems. I don't want people to come to me with problems. I just want to watch this sitcom or this romantic comedy movie and just lose myself, or a sci-fi, watch a Star Wars movie or something like that. And in retirement, I watch 20% of the TV that I used to.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
And that was shocking to me because you have more time. I could watch TV during the day, afternoon, I could watch in the evening, but I got too many things going on. I watch a lot of YouTube. I've turned into this insane learner. I love to learn things. So I'll watch how black holes are formed, and then I'll just keep looking at planets are formed. And
learning about Carl Jung.
And then I'm on Carl Jung. And then I'm on the World War I, and I'm listening to podcasts. I'm all over the place, but I love to learn. I consume probably 2 books through Audible or through the library. You have to take charge of your own calendar because work used to set that calendar for you. So either socially and using your time, most people grossly underestimate how much time they're going to have in retirement. The time that you're getting ready in the morning, the time that you're thinking about work on a Sunday afternoon, what's the week going to be like? If you're working 50 hours a week, your mind is probably on work 60, 70 hours a week. And now, what are you going to fill it with? Do you want to fill it by sitting on the couch? That just wasn't for me. I am much more active. But you have to take charge yourself in that calendar. So socially, that's how I answer it. The most awkward was with your wife. Work through it. I've got a video on this where you got to be on, I call it journeys. You're on these journeys together. You got to be on a lot together, or bad things can happen. You go on your journeys and she wants to go on her journeys. Yeah, you may end up apart. Yeah. But we do have it. I think it's great now. I think our relationship is fantastic, better than it's ever been. But she understands that I have some passions and purpose-driven activities that I love doing. And I know she's got hers. And they have to 100% overlap like we used to on the weekend.
Yeah. So instead of having these 2 days a week that you spend together, they're actually overlapping the full week now. What do your children think about what you're doing with the YouTube channel and everything? Are they?
Oh, I love embarrassing. When I meet my kids, when I'm with my kids and they have a friend there and they may say, hey, this is my dad, and they may ask me what I do, I say I'm a social media influencer. And
is that what you say?
Sometimes I say social media influencer and an author, and my kids just go, oh my God.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I do what I can to embarrass my kids.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is this just happened the other day, is my number 2 son, very smart guy. He's actually very proud of him. He actually has a PhD in chemical engineering at Virginia Commonwealth University. So he's just a great kid. What he looked at one of my videos, was talking to somebody about his dad, and he looked at one of my videos, and I have 400,000 views. He was like, what?
That's mental. It really is.
His mind was freaking blown. He's going, what? He says, I run from my dad's advice, and there are people running to him.
Have they taken on the same influences that you taken on from your father in your value-driven approach? Have they taken on that same approach?
I would say 3 out of the 4 have, to a healthy degree, and 1 out of 4 do.
Don't have to name any names.
I think he's gone a little more rogue.
Yeah.
This is my number 3 son. It's a great kid, makes a lot of money, very driven professionally, very driven, very successful financially and career-wise.
Yeah.
Guy, he lives like a poor college student. And just as an example, he's got this chair that we bought this chair when he was born. Okay. He got it at college. He's got it in his apartment that he's renting out in Colorado. One of the legs broke off, and he has cardboard boxes holding up one leg.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's just, wow, this chair's fine.
Yeah.
So he's a little extreme. And
he's going to end up sitting on the cardboard boxes, isn't he?
But all my kids are value driven, and that's a discipline that all my kids have. And that's, their spouses may not like that, but all my kids lived in a house that was more affluent than I grew up in. But we tried to keep them humble and hungry and value saving $1 more than spending it.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. That's obviously the younger sort of aspect, saving, building that portfolio. As we draw to the end of the chat, what would you say to those people in that 4 to 5 year window where they're kind of looking at the end, they can see it, they're perhaps even ready to go, they could go if they wanted to? What kind of would you share with them from your own journey, that 4 to 5 year window, or even ready to go?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is it's okay to be afraid. And the comfortable thing to do is to keep working. And most of the people work a couple years too long past where they are financially capable of. And then 5 years down the road, they're like, why didn't I leave 2 years earlier? Because it's the easy thing to do is to just keep going. And so it's okay to be afraid. It's okay that it's unknown, because your whole life, you've been going to college or university, high school, whatever. Then you've been building and saving in your whole life. And now you're at the top of the mountain, starting to start walking down the other side. And I'm going to be a spender now and not a saver. I was good at the saving piece. I'm not sure what this other life looks like. What if I run out of money? All this kind of stuff. Everybody's scared is the first thing I like telling people. Everybody's scared. Have a plan, work the plan. Find somebody to verify the plan for you. I tell people, I said, go to 4 or 5 financial advisors and sit down with them. It's free. They'll love talking to you and say, here's my assets. Here's what I'm thinking. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
We'll tell you something. And they'll try to get you to sign on with them. It's really not that high pressure, but they're free first session with them. Then there's some software packages out there. I use something called newretirement.com that you can enter all your information, runs Monte Carlo simulations, all that kind of stuff. And that feels good. Then you do a 4% rule, then 4% withdrawal rule, see how you feel there. We started this retirement group that I mentioned earlier, where I have 2 very close friends, full disclosure, share everything. Here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's my plan. So you start to get a little more comfortable with these different avenues. And then it's going to be a jump.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a jump. It's going to be a leap of faith. And rarely do people regret it. The only people I've seen that regret retiring early are those people that don't start new journeys. They think retirement is a destination, and that is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Especially early retirement. People have this vision of my work. They may love their job or hate their job. And they think it's a destination. I'm just going to go to the beach and I'm going to do nothing every day. Doing nothing every day. When you've had a whole career of being a driver, a results person, getting things done, saving, investing, working a plan, and all of a sudden you're going to completely change your personality because you're retired. It's not going to happen. You're going to go to the beach, and my wife and I travel a lot, but if I went to the beach for 3 months, I would be done.
Yeah, that's it. I'm done with beaches.
I believe, and I've done a lot of research on this, people are happiest when they're making progress on a journey. So what journey are you on? Retirement is a new journey starting. It's not a destination. You don't climb up this mountain and just sit on the mountaintop for 30 years. You don't do that. You sit up there and you enjoy it. Then you start the next journey. There's another mountain over there. Yeah. And run a nonprofit. I have this discussion group. I have my YouTube channel. I do some consulting. I wrote a book. Now, people think I'm working hard. I'm not working hard, but it's a new journey that I'm on. Thinking retirement is a destination is wrong. It's really wrong. And if it ends up being right, where you just relax on the beach, you're going to die of obesity in probably 10 years. You're just going to sit there and do nothing. So that's, the things that come to mind to me are, hey, it's a leap of faith. It's okay to be scared. And it's a new journey. What are you retiring to? And that to me, 5 years out, that's an important question. Start thinking about what you're retiring to. One of the things I didn't mention that I started doing about 5 years out is I answered that question and say, hey, I'd like to do some part-time consulting where I can help develop people, educate people on how to lead in the reliability and maintenance space. So I started developing an expertise and spending a little more of my time on reliability and maintenance at the facilities that I was at that time and learning things, how to do things, how to impact organizations. So what are you retiring to? I think is a question it's best to answer before you retire.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That
also, one of the reasons it's best is because I said it's a leap of faith. It's a jump. If you're jumping to this image of sitting on the couch, you may put it off a year. If you're jumping to I want to do part-time consulting or I want to travel with my wife. I have a friend, they sold everything and they're traveling for 10 years around the world. They sold everything, the car, all their clothes, everything. They had this journey that was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to start this journey. I can't wait to start this journey. And that pushes you out of the airplane to do your skydiving. That provides the nudge that a lot of people need. I've talked to people that say, I reached my financial independence number. Then I reached 1.5 times. Then I reached 2 times.
Yeah.
3 times. Because they didn't have that next journey defined.
Yeah. No, that's a really big insight. Retire to something and then you've got that sort of goal or objective to go into something. Something you mentioned earlier as well, actually, you've got this retirement group. Does this retirement group involve just a social aspect or do you sometimes use it for the investments aspect as well?
We talk about our investments. We're all mutual fund people. One of the individuals does some individual stocks, but it's more hobby. He's not studying the stock for 10 hours or a week or anything like that. There is a social aspect of it. But we do very few things outside of our investment group. The meetings are usually like 2 hours long and they're structured. We have an agenda. It's okay. Does anybody have any pressing issues, decisions they need to make in the next week? We'll go through that, but it is social. It stimulates the mind. It's challenging. And I think that's important in your retirement to be still a critical thinker and use your skills.
But if you don't use it, you lose it, don't you? So it's one of them, isn't it?
So we're meeting for this 2 hours every month, but there's also a lot of other interactions. I'll read some article. I'll get a podcast and I'll send it to them.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this guy? And then one of the things, I recently bought some I-bonds, which are some bonds that have an inflation component in them. They're paying like 9.6% return right now. And I analyzed them and I said, guys, this makes a lot of sense. I don't see the downside. What do you guys think of this? Textbook. I sent it up to them. They research it and they say, boy, this is really good. Your money's locked up for 1 year. You get a little penalty if you take it out before 5 years, but this really looks good. That gave me all the confidence in the world to hit click and buy those.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Joe, absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. Really enjoyed this conversation. Apart from obviously, I'm going to share the YouTube channel in with the links in the show notes. How else can they connect with you? What else do you offer? What else can you help people with? Apart from visiting your YouTube channel?
Yeah, inside the YouTube channel, I do have, like I said, a link in there. If somebody wants to secure an hour of my time, and if you really want that, I do not want that to be too much work for me. I like 3 or 4 a week. And if that goes up to 5 or 6, I'll just increase the price.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Not because I want more money, it's to weed people out.
Yeah.
You can access everything from my YouTube. If you want to, I've got my email address in there. I respond to 100% of my emails as of today. If people have a question, I will not give financial advice, specific invest in this stock and that stock. I can say that concerns me that you're all in Apple stock. I would think through that again. I would never do that.
You might
can
need
do
to
what you
review
want.
that.
Bad things can happen. But so my email's in there. If you want to secure an hour of my time is in there. I also have a couple pet projects that I list in there on how to ask for a raise. I've got a document on that you can just, because people ask me the same thing over and over again. And I say, I'll just write a Word document on that and I'll put it on my website.
Yeah.
Good gosh. Hey, instead of asking, what are you doing about health insurance? Here's the document. Health insurance. Yeah, my YouTube is my main interaction with people, and I love doing that.
Well, it's worth adding in that you get lots of emails in every week, don't you? Is it hundreds every month?
Not emails. I would say
Comments, questions.
The comments they're winning right now.
Yeah.
I get somewhere around 500 comments a day.
Yeah.
I'll probably get 2 email a day. So email is a lot easier. And that's a fast track to my attention. Sometimes the comments, I'm sorry, the 500, I'll try to read them all. I'll probably get to 400.
Yeah.
So you may get missed. If you got something that you're passionate about, send me an email. And I may regret saying that, but
you might do now. Yeah.
I do like to help it, but try not to be too complex. Sometimes I got one just the other day. It was like, you wrote me a 6-page email. And I'm like, oh God.
This is an essay.
You need a financial advisor. You don't need Joe.
Yeah.
But people, it's another thing you mentioned about the people 4 or 5 years out. If you don't do something about it being a lonely journey, it's a lonely, scary journey, retirement, because all these financial cards, you're the only one looking at. A lot of people don't even look at them with their spouse. And the industry wants you to pay a financial advisor a lot of money to look at them with you. Retirement group. That to me is gold. Try to get some people that are on the same journey as you. The other 2 people in my group, I've known them both for 30 years. Okay. People say, how do I form that group? Look at your friend group that you've known or colleagues that you've known for at least 5 years. They're on the same freaking journey.
Yeah.
Just ask them. They're going to be delighted that you asked them.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be lonely and scary. With using the retirement group is a great technique. And sometimes when you're looking, if you want to secure an hour with me and talk it through an hour with me, if that'll help, that's what I'm here for. But again, I don't want to do that too much.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your insights. Absolutely fantastic. I will make sure all the links are in the show notes below, so you can scroll down and you can subscribe to Joe's YouTube channel and book an hour of Joe's time as well if you wish to. Thank you.
I very much enjoyed it, Lee. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Fund Your Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share on your chosen listening platform. Thank you very much for your time and wish you a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now.